Welcome to Strongbrook Radio, leveling up with today's thought leaders. What you're about to hear are powerful insights, entertaining stories, and life-changing principles from some of the most innovative minds in the world today. This is Strongbrook Radio.
All right, well, welcome everybody. This is Stephen Michael Miller, one of the co-founders of Strongbrook. So glad to have you on Strongbrook Radio today and listening in, tuning in from wherever you might be, whether you are driving in your car, running at the gym, getting your kids ready for school, whatever that might look like for you right now. We're so glad that you've tuned in. This is all about finding those little gems and nuggets, learning from individuals who have been there and done that, and gaining that accelerated growth process. We talk about this all the time, and this is really what this is all about. And so today I'm so excited because we've got just an amazing individual here with us on the show today, as always, but this person is just someone I'm really excited about introducing. A woman by the name of Allison Larsen. And before I bring her on, I definitely want to help you understand a little bit of her background and where she comes from. She is a certified reflexologist, a Reiki master, hopefully I said that right, I'll get chastised later maybe, but a yoga instructor, a life coach, and a mom who promotes a holistic approach to health and wellness. Now, she's the owner of Family Foot Reflexology and has trained hundreds of students in foot zoning, as well as helped guide thousands of other people on their journey to greater health and wellness through classes, retreats, presentations, and individual sessions. Allison enjoys learning and sharing the skills that have helped her to overcome struggles with anxiety and become more confident mother, wife, and daughter of God. She enjoys family history work and loves to connect families together. Now, among her favorite things to do are traveling with her handsome husband, and those are her words, not mine, although I'm sure I would find him handsome. I'm sure he is. And 4 amazing children. She is passionate about life and believes that joy can be found in every step of the journey. So without any further ado, I'd love to bring on Allison Larsen. Allison, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you so much. And my husband will be very pleased to hear that you think he's handsome.
Yeah, he's just so attractive that oh no, it's wonderful to know that you find him attractive still. Some people they lose that, and so that's always good. Did I describe, or did I say that right? Is it Reiki master? Is it Reiki? How do you say that?
It's Reiki. You got it right.
I did. Good. I feel better about myself already, so that's good. Tell me, first of all, what is a Reiki master?
So Reiki is a wonderful modality. It's kind of like the healing touch modality. So I am helping people through my healing touch, and it's a wonderful form of healing. If you think about like preemies in the hospital, research has found if you just hold those babies, if they have contact with their moms, they're so much more likely to heal. If you think about people that are depressed, they've actually done studies with healing touch therapy and found that healing touch can be as effective as, or even more effective than, prescription medication. So it's just a wonderful modality. It's basically just touching somebody with the intention to love them and help them heal.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's amazing. It sounds to me that a lot of these things kind of go together, right? The reflexology, the Reiki, the yoga, being a life coach. First of all, before I get into too many, some of the really the heart of what we're talking about today, tell me a little bit more about yourself. Maybe even before we get into some of that, even, what was one of your most embarrassing moments, either professionally or growing up in life?
Oh, we have to bring this up. My most embarrassing moment. I've had so many, it's hard to choose from. I would have to say, some of my most embarrassing moments have come when I just have misunderstood what somebody has said and gone on describing something in a different manner. I remember one time, and this started way back in junior high, just using the wrong words. I was describing somebody after they gave a speech and used a word that was totally inappropriate, but I had no idea what the word meant. Everybody in my class was laughing. My teacher was like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe you just said that." And I just remember remember my face turning red. I think my husband always says this, I'm a little bit naive at times. And so sometimes that just being naive causes me some pretty embarrassing moments when I use a word incorrectly or when I misunderstand what somebody's saying. But definitely, that touch, and you're right, all those modalities work together, and they're all modalities that can work a lot with touch and feeling, because that's definitely the language of communication that I am most fluent in.
Got it. It's interesting. Fluency doesn't mean that you don't mess up here and there. We're talking about, my daughter. I have a 7-year-old daughter. I have a lot of kids, but anyway, my 7-year-old daughter. Yesterday, we were watching Gem on Netflix. Did you ever watch Gem as a kid?
Now, is Jim the rocker?
Yeah, the truly outrageous. Jim, truly outrageous.
I don't know. That might be a most embarrassing moment if I admit that I actually watched that. Yes, I did, and I'm very familiar with Jim.
This may be my most embarrassing moment as I sing Gem here on the radio. But anyway, we were watching Gem with my daughters, and we're going through, and she does the truly outrageous, contagious, and this, that, and the other, and whatever it says. And my daughter comes up to me yesterday, and she says, she said something about that's contagious or something. And I said, do you know what that means? She said, well, doesn't it kind of mean like claustrophobic? Which she also didn't know what it meant. But anyway, as a kid, I can totally relate, because I used to watch a lot of movies, and I remember, I would always quote them wrong, and my siblings would always make fun of me for those false quotes. So anyway, I get it. I totally get it. Well, you got into the world of reflexology. You've become a life coach. You do a lot of work with people, and of course, that healing touch with being a Reiki master. Talk to me about what got you involved with that in the first place. I think most people are on a journey, and they have a certain set of experiences that really start to mold and shape and determine when, we come to that kind of crossroads, and do I go down this road? Do I do this? Is this part of my passion? What was your experience like? What took you down this journey?
Well, that is a wonderful question. And I actually just told my story in a book that came out called The Healer's Call. And I talk a little bit about my journey. And, as a child, I think some of my biggest gifts I viewed as my weaknesses, as some of my worst weaknesses. My ability to really tap into how others were feeling. I always thought I was strange for feeling that way, because I had something that maybe other people didn't understand. And so my journey began, I think, like many people's journeys that are in the field of health and wellness and healing. And that is, I began viewing a lot of my strengths as weaknesses and not wanting them, not wanting those gifts and talents, those God-given gifts and talents that I had, because they made me different from other people. But as I continued on my journey, really, Stephen, what it was is I found some amazing mentors, some amazing people in my life that really helped me see things from a different perspective, helped me view, instead of viewing those things as weaknesses, helped me to view those gifts and talents that I had as strengths, and helped me to recognize how I could use those to help other people. So it's been a long journey. It's been a long road. I would say, it wasn't until I was in my early 30s, and I'm 36 right now. It wasn't until I was in my early 30s, 5 or 6 years ago, that I really started to embrace and recognize the many gifts and talents that I had, and start using them to help other people.
What do you think? What do you think got you to view those strengths, obviously, as weaknesses? I mean, were you in an environment where people were telling you that they weren't good, or kind of what happened there?
Again, it's just all about perspective. And I'll tell you my story, and this is why I'm so passionate about foot zoning. I'm a mom. I have 4 kids, like you mentioned. And after the birth of my last child, I developed this horrible sinus infection. And the kind, I don't know if you've ever had a really bad sinus infection, the kind that makes your face ache. Yeah. And it's totally miserable. And I had these 4 small kids, all under the age of 8, and I just was not feeling very well. And I'm allergic to a lot of antibiotics. So this aching persisted for about 4 years. Well, one day my friend said to me, hey, I'm getting a certification in reflexology and foot zoning. I was wondering if you could be my guinea pig. Now, I will have to say that I definitely did not grow up in the holistic, field, or with parents that viewed holistic or natural healing as the path that was right for them. So I was very used to traditional medicine, but you know what? I really wanted to help out my friend. Little did I know that she was actually going to help me. So anyway, I went over to her house. I'd woken up the night before. My face was just aching. And she's working on my feet, and she's working these different points. And she got to a point on my toes, and it was super tender. And she said, "Do you have sinus problems?" And I was just amazed. I said, "Yes, how could you tell that?" And she said, "I could tell that through your feet." She continued to explain a little bit to me about what reflexology was and how it worked. But then she went one step farther. She said, are you interested in learning the emotion behind sinus infections? And I thought she was totally crazy. Absolutely. I thought, I mean, who could think that emotion would be causing this?
Well, I think we all had those. I mean, I had not a neighbor, but a guy that I went to church with who he was way before his time. But I remember we would be playing sports and someone would go and sprain their ankle, and he'd get out his oils and start doing these strange movements on their ankles. And I'm like, what are you? I think we all had that and again, back then it was crazy, but scientifically we found out, wow, there was a lot of truth to what he was doing,
Yeah, and I've learned since then there is science and there is research behind emotions that are linked to physical ailments.
Yeah.
Anyway, through this journey, she helped me to recognize some emotions that, sure enough, I'd been feeling the past 4 years. And when I was able to shift my perspective from being in this helpless place to, I was just feeling this way and there was nothing I could do about it, to recognizing that my emotions, how I was feeling, was actually affecting my energy level, my physical health. From that point, I just decided to take ownership of that, and then I was going to change how I was feeling. And once I was able to do that, my sinus infection went away, and I have not had not one sinus infection in 6 years since that very first foot zone. And so it really is about perspective. And that's what I'm passionate about, helping people to take ownership and to change their perspective.
Wow. So, I mean, that sounds amazing. Obviously, so you had a friend that came over. She shared her gifts and talents with you. When did you first recognize that you had gifts and talents in that area for helping to guide others?
Well, after that experience, I knew I wanted this tool to help my family, and I wanted it to help others. And so I decided that I was going to become certified in reflexology and foot zoning. And as I got my certification and stumbled across some other mentors, well, I say stumbled, but I'm sure it was divine intervention, came across some other mentors that really helped me how to present and to teach. And, I knew that was something that I had found something that changed my life, and I couldn't not share it. I couldn't not share it with other people. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, Stephen, where you just have found something that's changed your life and you just want to share it with everybody.
Oh yeah, I mean, this has absolutely no relevancy probably to what you're talking about, but I love music, and there's a group that I adore. They do a cappella music, and it's amazing. And every time I listen to their songs, it travels through my whole body. And every time I get the chance, I talk about them. So I don't know if that's a similar thing or not, but I think I get it a little bit.
Oh, exactly. And will you email me the a cappella group when we're done?
I will. Yeah, I sure will.
Great.
So you got started. You're now helping other people, and you talk about a number of different things. And you've already said it a few times here on the phone call, where you it sounds like you have a really huge affinity towards this word ownership. Tell me what ownership means to you.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and ownership is something I am passionate about, and something I strive to teach other people. So let me give an example. Is it okay if I give you an example about this?
Oh yeah, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So recently I just bought a new car, and I have to tell you, I've been driving this car almost 300,000 miles on it, kind of a clunker for the past year. I'm just holding my breath as I'm driving, thinking, what is going to break on this vehicle next? So you know what? I had a car on my vision board. Vision boards are wonderful. If you haven't heard about them, I teach about them, but
anyway. Definitely know about vision boards.
So I put this new car on my vision board. I chose a Dodge Charger, and was finally able to get that off my vision board last month. And so wonderful. Thank you. And I'm sitting there getting ready to sign these papers to take ownership of this vehicle. And I get this kind of panicky feeling like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of money. This is a big responsibility. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you ever felt that?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, like before buying a new car or new house. But you know what? I said, okay, no, I feel good about it. I'm going to signed that ownership paper, drove away my vehicle. It's been awesome. I've been making a lot of trips for business down to Utah. I live in Idaho. Well, came time for that first oil change. And you know what? It was a busy week. Busy week. And I did not want to go sit for an hour in this oil changing station,
Yeah.
But I knew that I had some other big trips coming and the consequences might be bad if I didn't get this oil change. So I decided I was going to take the time and go get this oil change. Well, our lives are kind of like this car, right? Whether we like it or not, we signed on. We're all here. We're experiencing. We've been given this life, and our life is like our vehicle that's going to get us to where we want to go. And we need to pause sometimes for maintenance and for those oil change. We have to take ownership. We have to take care of our lives. And there's a lot of people that I work with, and I was in the same boat where I hear all the time, well, I'm just this way because, or I really don't like how my life's going, but I have no control over it. Well, you do have control. You can take ownership of your life. And just like, might be inconvenient, like that oil change was inconvenient, sometimes it's going to be hard to take ownership. It's going to be hard to admit, yes, there's something in my life that I don't like, and maybe I don't want to take the time to fix it. But you know what? If you don't, it's going to be similar to that car. If I decided not to get the oil change, I could have overheated, I could have run out of oil, and I'm really not going to get to my destination in the best manner possible. And that's like, how it is with ownership. And that's why I am so thankful for mentors in my life. And, just the other day, I was feeling really discouraged. I was feeling super discouraged and super down. Things weren't going exactly how I wanted with my business. I was wanting to spend more time with my kids at summer. And that's when I said, okay, I don't like how I'm feeling. I'm going to take ownership of that. I'm going to do something about it. I'm not going to be a victim to how I'm feeling. And so I took time for myself. I hooked up with one of my mentors and I made some huge progress, some huge breakthroughs. I got rid of those feelings of discouragement, instead was feeling excited about life. So that's what taking ownership is all about. If there's something you don't like in your life, something that you look, maybe that check engine oil light comes on in your own life, or that change the oil light comes on, it's about taking the time to take ownership of that and doing something about it so that you can have a smooth ride and get to where you want to go.
So how has taking ownership really helped you to create the life that you want? How has it really affected your life? I mean, obviously you gave us that great example. How does ownership help you in every aspect of your life?
Oh my goodness. You know what? It's so empowering. It's so empowering. I hear people say all the time, well, I'm this way because of my family. Well, as soon as you say because of, or I'm this way, or this is going on in my life because of, you are not owning it. You are disempowering yourself. You are saying, I am a victim and there's nothing I can do about it. And you know what? I don't know if you've ever been a victim of something before, but to feel like you're a victim, you feel completely powerless. You feel like there's nothing you can do about it. And it's not a very good feeling. And when you are able to look at your life and say, you know what, I don't like how I'm feeling in this area of my life. I don't like how this part of my life is going. I am going to do something about it. I am going to change it. Then you have taken the power into your own hands, and you really can change your whole destiny. You can change how you and where you're going. An example of this in my life was, a few years ago, my husband's in the construction business. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to explain.
We all know what happened there, right?
Yeah, exactly. We found ourselves in a position where we were struggling to make our house payments. We were, struggling financially, and consequently, we found that our self-esteem was a little bit low. And, we had a wonderful mentor introduced to us, a person in our life that helped us take a step back and realize that our personal value wasn't based upon our income.
Yeah.
And asked us, what can you do? What can you do now to change? And you know what? We decided, we created this vision in our head of what we wanted. It's writing exercise of how we wanted to feel, what we wanted to have happen, 5-year plan. And it was so amazing, Stephen, because we took out that plan a couple years ago, and every single thing on that plan had come true in our lives. And it was because we were willing to say we don't like where we are, and we are willing to work and take ownership and decide where we want to be. And it was so eye-opening and amazing to read that.
That is so empowering. And the reality is we all face situations where we have a choice, right? We have a choice between either I'm going to be a victim, I'm going to allow things to happen to me, or I'm going to choose victory and I'm going to do things about it. And whatever that is, I think whenever we're in that victim space, and again, I think we all are in that space at some point in our life or another, where we feel like we're just this kind of bystander watching things happen. And I mean, I can speak for myself, especially in my marriage. My marriage has been one of the biggest blessings of my life. And it's also been one of the hardest things that I've ever faced. But there are so many circumstances where in a marriage, you can look at your spouse and say, hey, this is hard because they're not doing this, or, she's not doing that, or whatever the case is. And in that space, if I'm constantly pointing the finger and not taking ownership, if I'm putting the blame off on her, then all of a sudden it's her problem, her fault, and there's nothing that I can do to change it. What a helpless situation. And all that, and the truth of it is it doesn't have to be that way. That's just the way I'm viewing it. So if I will take ownership, this is what I'm hearing from you. If I will take ownership, and if I will look at things that I can do to affect the outcome that I want, instead of relying on something else or someone else or whatever, then all of a sudden I start to create the life that I really want. And I'm no longer just waiting around and hoping, right? I've got actionable steps. I've got items that I can affect, where I can affect the change.
Exactly.
I love that. So a few things. We've been talking about a number of different things, and I want to flip the channel here just a little bit. I'd like to get a little bit more into foot zoning, because you gave a great story about that, about how you were having these sinus headaches, and then she helped you out of that a little bit. Can you talk to us a little bit more about foot zoning?
Yes, I would love to. And, it goes right along with what we've been talking about, which is taking ownership. Foot zoning really does help you take ownership in a few different areas in your life. Well, 4 particularly: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And foot zoning is going to help you to have more time, more energy, and more money. And so a lot of people ask me, how can that be? How can foot zoning help you in all these areas? Well, let me explain a little bit. Our entire body is mapped out on our feet. Our entire body. So we have these different parts of our body. Through the feet, we can tell what's going on physically in the body. But also, remember I told you that there has been research done and they found certain emotions are linked to certain physical ailments?
Right.
Well, when we're working on the feet, we can actually tap into some of those emotions that somebody may be experiencing, some of those emotional roadblocks that are preventing them from moving forward. So basically, the foot zone is kind of like a diagnostics for your car when the check engine light comes on. So when your life's not going exactly how you want it to go, maybe it's not going how you want it to go physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, the foot zone can help you identify maybe what some of those blocks are in your life. So it's a really powerful tool. I love teaching families to use the foot zone. I love to use it on myself, but one of my favorite people to use it on are my children. Because, oh boy, do they open up to me and they start recognizing these things and these emotions that are going on in their life. I don't know if you have any teenagers, Stephen, but I've got 2 teenage girls who I adore and love, but boy, they have a lot of emotions going on right now. So the foot zone's wonderful to help, them identify maybe what some of the negative emotions are going on, help them to sort out how they're feeling.
Well, I don't have any teenagers. I do have 4 daughters. They range in ages 5 to 10. And I feel like they're teenagers sometimes. So maybe that could help there as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, you've got another couple of years, but I will tell you that learning the foot zone can help can help you save time, because really you're making the best use of time with your kids. If you want some one-on-one time with somebody you love, Foot Zone is a wonderful way, a service that you can give to them. You're going to connect physically, you're going to connect emotionally, you're going to connect mentally and spiritually with them. So it makes a wonderful use of time. It's going to give you more energy, because when you are able to identify blocks in your life through the foot and get rid of those, then you will have more energy in your life. You will have more energy. When we have negative thoughts, they've been actually able to measure our thought fields and know negative thoughts have a negative frequency and they lower our energy level. When we have positive thoughts and positive emotions, it raises our frequency, it raises our energy level. So the foot is a great way to identify some of those negative energies in your body, those negative thoughts, negative emotions, and negative physical issues in your body. And then you're able to let those go. And we teach how to do that in our program.
Awesome.
The third thing is you're going to have more money. You're going to save money. That the Foot Zone is wonderful, because if you've got those little things, those little things you just don't know if you should go to the doctor for or not.
Sure.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Little earache, little tummy ache, you're wanting your kids to feel better. You're probably running through the worst case scenario in your mind, but you're just like, I don't know, should I bring them in? Should I not? Well, the Foot Zone's great, because you're going to be able to work some points on the feet that will help with those areas, like earaches, wonderful for earaches, tummy aches, fantastic. And did you know through the foot you can even identify whether something is a virus or a bacteria?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. So wonderful tool to have.
So, Allison, this sounds pretty amazing to me. Again, I've got 7 children, and they're all 11 and younger, so they're all younger, and we're in that phase where some of them they can't communicate very well with me, and or they choose not to for whatever reason, and this sounds like something that would be a valuable tool. Is this something that anybody can learn? How hard is it to get this information and to really start applying it? Do you have to have a doctorate degree in reflexology? What does that look like?
Well, that's a great question. And first of all, I want to tell you that it doesn't necessarily get easier as they get older. Sometimes my kids come home from school and it's like, how was your day? Fine. Is there anything you want to talk about? Nope. So the Foot Zone is a great point to talk with your kids and also recognize some things that are going on in their lives. But, to your question, do you need to have a degree to do this? Do you need to do a bunch of studying? No, you don't. No, you don't. And this is on the Conscious Creators Mentoring Network. And you can access all the information to learn right from within your home the entire Foot Zone, all the points on the feet. And we give you some tools to be able to start recognizing some of the emotions that are perhaps associated with the different areas of the feet and what's going on. Now, of course, you can dive way into depth in this if you like it, if you want to get more into it. There's some other options available, but to learn the basic Foot Zone is not hard. It's not hard at all, and you can do it right from the comfort of your own home.
That's fantastic. And you talked about a lot of the benefits, obviously the physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, different benefits that come along with foot zoning. And I really appreciate that. I think that's providing a lot of value for our listeners, as well as I'm excited to go view and experience your course inside of the Mentoring Network. I'm really excited about that. But if there was one tip about the foot that you could share with us that we could really implement right away, implement today, what would that be?
Oh, that's a great question. So I'm going to give you a tip that's really helpful for any kind of congestion that's going on. And I know it's summertime, but you know what? Around here in Idaho, we have had some kind of respiratory thing going around in the area. So I'm going to share a tip with you about any kind of respiratory issues that are going on. So you know how when you get that kind of junky ick right in your chest area?
Yeah.
And it makes it kind of hard to breathe. And when you cough, you feel this little fire, a little burn. Well, that area of your body on your foot is located right on the ball of your feet. So if you are congested, you may notice the balls of your feet are a little more sensitive. A really easy trick to use with that, for those of you that use essential oils, I recommend using lime and thyme, putting those on the bottom of your feet, and then taking a golf ball or a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball, something like that, and just rolling it over the balls of your feet. And just for about 5 minutes with a medium amount of pressure, just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Now you may notice that you cough more at first because that's going to loosen up the congestion, but you'll feel fantastic within a few hours. That congestion will really loosen up and release.
That's amazing. This is actually very timely because my wife has been, she's been struggling with a little bit of congestion, and it's kind of this annoying cough that has been sticking around for a long time. So I'm going to go home and try this. Yes,
do. Can't wait to hear how she likes it.
Oh, I'm sure she loves it. She loves foot massages anyway. So this should just give me another excuse to help her out there. That's great. Well, I'll tell you, Allison, it has been a pleasure to have you on the show. We're so grateful that you are part of the mentoring network, and what you're doing right now is one other way that people can utilize immediately to start improving their lives, to start accelerating their progress, and taking that ownership that you've been talking about. Are there any kind of last minute thoughts or any final words that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I do have some. Thank you. I just wanted to put this all together a little bit. If you are interested in Learn the Foot Zone and take the time to identify the physical points and learn how to connect the emotions with it, you can really identify the emotions that you can start taking ownership of, the thoughts that you can take ownership of. And you have the power to change those. You can determine what you think. You can determine how you want to feel. You can determine how your life is going to go. And the foot is a wonderful, wonderful vehicle, a tool for being able to recognize some of those blocks or some of those things that you need to take ownership in your life. I am so thankful for this opportunity that I had to share with all of you. And if there's one thing that you take away from this, just know that you have the power to choose how your life is going to turn out. So take ownership of that today.
Allison, again, thank you so much for being on our show. We really appreciate your time, your energy. This was just wonderful. Such great information that you gave all of us. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, Stephen.
All right. And everyone else that's listening in from all around the world, thank you so much for being with us this week as well as every week. Tune in, tell your friends about us, let them know what we're doing here. This is Strongbrook Radio. And again, we've had Allison Larsen on today, a certified reflexologist, Reiki master, yoga instructor, life coach, mom, just an amazing individual as you heard her story and what she's been able to do for her life and now what she's turning around and doing for so many other people all across the world as we get her message out to those that are in need. Again, as always, tune in every single week here on the Strongbrook app. This has been Stephen Michael Miller with Strongbrook Radio. We'll talk to you next week.